Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. So we knew that going into bracket number 2, there would be a lot of Zerg power, and it did not disappoint. Up in the winners bracket, we have 4 Zergs in the round of 4 up in that winner bracket, and 2 of those will qualify for the round of 24. Joining me on the desk here, we do have Rotterdam, we have Tasteless and Artosis. Don't know why I did 1-3-2. That was a little weird there, but it's fine over the
As long as I'm in front of Dan, it's fine.
Right,
no
okay. I'll keep sure. I'll
So you
make
went
sure
Rotterdam, Tasteless, Artosis?
Yeah, that's probably my ranking.
See, this is a curse for me, is that it's Tasteless and Artosis. It's not Artosis and Tasteless.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I'm just second fiddle. That's it. I'm his backup.
That's how it goes.
I ride in the little sidecar on his motorcycle.
I like to think of it as like a stunt double cast.
This is a weird sitcom. It's very strange. But anyway, looking at how things are going to be going, we do have our next series coming up, which will be True versus Serral, gentlemen. And this is a fixture that we've seen a little bit in WCS. And when I thought about it, I'm thinking to myself, well, yeah, Serral's a monster in the Zerg versus Zerg matchup, but True's not too bad either. They're very, very close in series and past results.
Didn't True knock him out of a WCS circuit event last year?
I think so, yeah.
Valencia?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it was. So obviously True is just scary, right? Because True just plays different. I mean, we just saw one of his EVZs and he made a layer and did absolutely nothing with it. And then one with links and vein links. Like, only True can pull that kind of stuff off. So it's a dangerous one for Serral, but I'm definitely leaning towards Serral.
Yeah.
I mean, last year this was really the tournament where he finally showed everybody that he's not just good online, but he's good offline as well, where he made it through the open bracket. And then he won his group, those awesome round robin groups that we have later in this tournament. I'm expecting Serral to qualify.
I mean, he's a WCS circuit champion, Artosis.
He is, but if you look at the style of True and the style of Serral, like Serral is a macro Zerg. He tries to get into that bigger, later game, whereas True is just unbridled aggression. And we saw at IEM Pyeongchang, that can do well against Serral. Even though his ZVZ is like technically better, maybe. He's like, if you actually get into a longer ZVZ, maybe he's the best ZVZ here.
Right.
But you don't have to get into that longer CVC.
The funny thing is, Rotterdam just made a very good point. I'm saying, you know, Serral is a WCS circuit champion. As you said, so is True. A little bit further along ago, of course. So when it comes to form, when you're looking at this Tasteless, you would give Serral a little bit of an edge here, I feel.
Yeah, I think this tournament is definitely highlighting this, but we have to look at how people are playing very recently, right? I mean, a lot of the predictions I was making early on in this tournament, I was taking results from years ago, and honestly, it doesn't really seem to matter. We've seen Serral perform very well in the last 2 months, and if I had to pick a favorite, I'd be going with him.
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. We will keep you up to date as well with all of the games that are going on here on the laptops as well. We have a few from the lower bracket, and we'll have one of the qualifying matches as well from the winners bracket. Time to head over to the commentators for this Zerg versus Zerg.
G'day guys, an all Aussie cast here with Maynard and Pig coming at you for this CVZ. And Pig, how are you feeling about the series, man? Like they said, like the guys on the desk have said, 2 WCS champions coming down. Brand fresh champion Serral against the crusty old champion True.
Yeah, I mean, we got a passionate match here. We've got aggression versus a macro. We've got, of course, the young Finn, who's you know, he's kind of a stoic player. He doesn't really share too much of his feelings. He's here just to win, to play his best, and we've seen him just kind of take it from one level to the next, right? Whereas
getting a visible emotional reaction from Serral is like bleeding a stone. It is tough.
I mean, even when you make it to your first grand finals, it's nice. Is about the best you're gonna get from him. But we love him. His play speaks for itself. He's an incredible player, and he really has taken it to the next level. Then
True has changed a lot since I last saw him, I gotta say.
It's good that, I mean, we're accepting people getting all sorts of surgery and stuff these days, I guess. I don't know.
This is 2018. Everything's okay. And the top right here, though, this is the WCS champion, the Finnish player, Serral.
Looking very focused. Of course, his opponent in the red in the bottom left-hand side, representing Storm Gaming, it is True.
I have a feeling maybe the camera was not in the correct place. Just stay on
What? Oh.
Yeah, wait, what?
I thought True's like, I don't know, went to like the Solarium or something? I don't know.
White guy.
Yeah.
But we have, you know, mirror build so far, so Hatchery first. Now, you know, you expect from True in a series like this to drop the early pool, like, you know, even it's a gasless 12 pool, but even True is not afraid to go 13-12, you know, like,
Yeah, like whatever like you think isn't being done in the meta, he'll still kind of just go ahead and do it. True is crazy with all those styles, but I guess like Serral, it's funny because I can't remember the last time I've seen like a 12 pool actually kill Serral. Like, he's the guy where you're like, oh wow, he's like totally unprepared for this. He didn't see this coming. And then like the fighting dies down and you check the units lost and Serral's lost like nothing. Like 0 resources. He's got like 8 drones on red hit points that he's kept alive and he's just there like not a bead of sweat on his forehead. He's just completely chill. So I think at this point players are just respecting him so much that they're kind of going, okay, maybe a Ling Bane bust, maybe a Ling Flood, but the early pools just don't seem to work against his level of control.
It is tough to find a chink in this guy's armor, to be fair. He seems to have no weaknesses, although it was mentioned on the desk and touched on a little bit earlier, there is sort of a window of timing that some players have found to you know, be able to get a map or even a series off of him. You know, he hasn't had infallible showings at his last couple of tournaments, like Pyeongchang. We expect a little bit more from him, especially on the back of Leipzig. Especially considering, you know, the Zerg, the European ladder is such a Zerg-heavy ladder that you'd figure it's his best matchup.
I mean, a big story has been the ascendance of Scarlet recently, and it started with her defeating him there at Pyeongchang, didn't it? It was the match where we all thought he was the favorite, and she brought the fight to him. She kept catching him off guard with those aggressive timings, and I wonder exactly how True is going to do it. He's going for a 3rd hatchery here, nice and early. So both players going to opt for that 3rd base, and immediately Serral pops down the Baneling Nest, so a very safe timing on that. Wants to play defensively, whilst True, known for either skipping that or delaying it, trying to be a little bit greedier, and sometimes just going straight up to roaches off the speedlings.
You can just straight up end the game if your opponent doesn't have a Baneling Nest and you have a Baneling Nest. So this is something that both players are getting. It's not a massive investment, 150 minerals, 50 gas just for safety. I don't like, even if it doesn't get used, I think that it's still like a pretty solid thing to get just in case.
Yeah. I mean, it just gives you that explosive way to stop those Zergling floods, right? Otherwise, it's so silly the way a game can run away if you just don't have Banelings.
It could literally just end.
Roaches, of course, a bit slower to increment out. They're better later in the game, but for now, both players sticking with the Ling Bane. 5 more drones on the way for True. He really has been showing what, you know, I haven't been watching too much of his play recently, I confess. I just haven't caught too many of his games and qualifiers and so on. But it looks like he's kind of redefining himself a little bit. I feel like the mid-game is where he wants to take it, whereas it used to always be the early stages or maybe the early mid-game. Nowadays, he's actually happy here to sit on the defensive.
Yeah, I gotta say, like in some of the online casts I've been doing from home, like in in the base trade leagues, that sort of thing, in BTSL, he's actually tried to go down the macro path here, but hold that thought. We got a little Baneling here trying to find a connection of drones. Denies a lot of mining time, but doesn't kill any of them. And that's still a bit of pressure here for Serral, still alive on that 3rd hatchery. True's 3rd hatcher's in a spot of bother here.
2 Zerglings for True have snuck in. They might morph into Banelings, but for now he's got to focus on the defense, and Serral's micro is so good here. He's looking for these connections. He's just trying to split things up, keep the pressure up. Behind this, Serral droning like a madman.
Wow.
He just wants to maintain pressure here and take efficient trades. This isn't about winning the game, it's about keeping True on the back foot.
And continuing down his hatchery. Ooh, that's probably unnecessary there from Serral, hitting that hatchery with those Banelings. Definitely wanted those alive for the Lings. But meanwhile, it looks like True's trying to put the aggressive pants back on, and he is going up into the natural here with his Lings. Serral does have that defender's advantage, not too far of a reinforcement for his own Lings as well, and defensive Banelings morphing. He should be able to hold on, not take any more damage here.
Yeah, I'm not sure if those Banelings got caught in the main base. I think they did. So, True just hasn't really found an angle just yet, but more and more Ling Bane flooding across the map here. Oh, True wants to make it happen right now. More Banelings are finishing just in time. Serral continuing to produce more and more Banelings. He knows if his Banelings are exhausted, that's when True can rush in.
Wow.
Serral playing it very safe right now.
True is putting a lot of time and effort into making a ton of Lings right now in true fashion here, but there is a roach transition for Serral, and there's a window here where he's not going to have as many Lings, but with defender's advantage, generally you can get those roaches up, especially when you have your own defensive Banelings. Even if you have more Lings, Serral's control has been pretty immaculate so far in this game. Apart from detonating those Lings in that hatchery, his control has been pretty fantastic. And look at that, 2 Banelings for 1. He still has 2 left over, and True deflected once more.
That Queen on red hit points is just baiting, teasing True. It's just kind of saying, hey, come at me. And True has not been able to close in with it. Yet again, another good Baneling trade. Serral's micro, and I mean, look at D Supply. He's just edging his way ahead. He got his drone count up earlier, and now he's transforming that into a lot of roaches. So even though True's caught up in workers, he's way behind in the army.
Yeah.
He's just now starting to go into roach horn and +1 range. but I'm pretty sure Serral is just going to hit a huge roach push. He's banked up a good amount of roaches. They're starting to move out his Zerglings here, just harassing, keeping True occupied. And oh, he baits him into the Baneling.
Massive connection there, and it's looking very dire for True. Obviously, not much action's happening right now, but it is about to explode here as these roaches march on towards that third base. In fact, they might even forget it altogether and go right up the natural.
I think that'd be a good call. The link counter comes back in. True Zerglings are out of the map trying to buy time. He wants to get these spine crawlers up, but I don't think they're going to finish.
Nah, Serral is just going to continue this attack, even reinforcements from Serral cleaning up the counter-attack from True here. And Serral is banging on the front door here. How does True stop this? I don't think he can. GG. Serral takes game number 1.
I mean, True tried to make that counter-aggression work, but Serral just says, yeah, nah, slaps it down, slaps it backwards, and manages to take out a very decisive Game 1 victory. True Serral fashion as well. He's so good with those Zergling, Baneling skirmishes. He's so good at microing it back and forth, and we saw him just kind of gaining the advantages. If we see that situation again, I really want to look at the units loss tab if the game slows down, because I feel like every time I watch a Serral Zerg vs Zerg, you're like, oh yeah, Lingbane skirmish, and then he's just a few hundred resources ahead.
Yeah, and like 20 supply.
Exactly, he's like squeezing like 4 more drones, he's like taking better trades, and you're just like, oh, okay, so you just can't get in skirmishes with him because he'll get ahead every single time with his micro.
And that's the thing. People keep saying this guy's late game is his power. But then you see stuff like that where his Ling Bane control, which is the early game composition in ZVZ, is immaculate. It's beautiful.
It's crazy, right? Because like whenever he's in that situation where he's not caught off guard and it's just like, oh yeah, this is just a skirmish. Like he's like, I'm going to keep the pressure on you, but I'm going to macro perfectly behind it and I'm not going to commit that much. It's like the, balanced pressure. It's I'm going to put a bit of pressure on my opponent, but I'm not going to stress out of it. And speaking of not being stressed out, he's already looking at the Wikipedia bracket saying, hey, who's next up? He's already thinking ahead there. He was glancing at the bracket. Yeah. But honestly, this is not an easy match. If there's one guy who can dig deep and actually bring out something surprising, it's definitely True. He's done it so many times before. You can never count him out.
And especially lately in the online tournaments, at least, True's like that guy where, I mean, even at WCSs, True's that guy where people will go, oh, nah, he doesn't have what it takes anymore. And then he turns their heads and surprises them and goes, no, I'm still extremely relevant. Like, I'm very good. I will beat your top 4s from time to time.
Wow, those stats.
Those stats, yeah. They're in the ticker at the very bottom of the screen. We were just looking at that.
26-4 for Serral. I thought True's was good at 34-14, but 26-4 in Zerg vs Zerg. That is insane. Serral very rarely defeated in this matchup, you know? He's born and raised in Finland. He plays on the EU ladder. He comes through WCS EU challenges. Do you know what that means? It means you need to beat about 23 Zergs in a row, Maynard.
And speaking of tons of Zergs, that is what this bracket is. There are so many. And if Serral is this good in CVZ, I gotta say, he'd be pretty confident about leaving this bracket and get to the group stage. But that is a future problem here. He has to get through True first. And True, once again, we have to reiterate, is no slouch. In the bottom right here, the Finnish player from NC Sports. This is Serral. And in the top left, representing Psystorm, this is True. Oh, that is the game on face. That is a serious business face right there.
Oh, yeah.
It's like almost the Jadon killer face. Remember that?
Yeah. Everything on red, you know, that's, True is not afraid to take a risk, to take a gamble. And once again, I feel like the players are just playing that veto chicken, man. They're just like, oh, you're going to get rid of Biogenesis, man. The other one's like, nah, you're going to get rid of it. And then they kind of go, oh, no one actually took this map out of the pool? All right, I guess we're playing the Crazy Rush map. Let's see how it goes.
Now, if I was Serral on Abiogenesis, I would 100% go pool first, because you got to be thinking a guy like True's going to try and use the map to its advantage, right?
Oh,
and True's doing the other thing. He's going to hatch first. So, a little edge there.
I like
at least
that.
Economically for True. He's going hatch, guys, pool.
That's it. This is like the advantage when you build up an aura, like someone like True, where you know people expect aggression, you know people are afraid of you. And the thing is, if you're facing True, you don't want to go into like, oh, I'm going to go in an early pool and play against his early pool and play this really bizarre situation, which you know True's played dozens of times. He knows every possible path off of that. You want to try and slow things down and just take it to the next stage, right? And that's exactly what Serral's doing. He's going for the spawning pool first, getting out some Zerglings into Queen very early, fast Overlord as well, so we could build more Zerglings. This is very safe, but True, he's going to get that, you know, that pool down a little bit later, but he's going to have double Queens popping at the same time, the potential to do a lot of Ling Bane aggression and probably have an easier time securing his third base.
Yeah, and Serral doesn't even go deep here with the Overlord. All he wanted to see was the hatchery and how far along it was, so he knows exactly what he's up against. Likewise for True. So Serral's going to have like a few Lings on the floor to be able to, you know, pressure a little bit, or he could just decide to drone up with his lava here because he knows that he's going to have, you know, at least the ability to make Lings a little bit early here, so have a bit more of an army earlier on stages. Looking for a drone kill. I don't see that happening here for Serral. True's already got his first couple Lings out. Oh. Yeah, not going to happen. And there's that Baneling nest for True. Very quickly here.
Yeah, not a bad call. Meanwhile, Serral not opting for it just yet. Both players are going for Zergling speed. What's really interesting about this map is if you do decide to go straight up to Roaches, Roaches are a much more threatening unit than they are on other maps. And the reason is the rush distance is just so short. Normally Roaches are a little bit impotent in the early stages because you start pushing out, your opponent just backstabs you with Zerglings, and your Roaches are just like, well, it's going to take us another 2 minutes to get across the map, so we're kind of useless in this stage until later. But on this map, you're a stone's throw from each other, so Roaches can definitely be very good. And I think that's what Serral's game plan will be, because he's building a third Queen, he's only got Zergling speed, and he's actually going for a fast layer and Evo Chamber. Wow, mega greed.
I was about to bring it up, but with the first creep tumor being made here for Serral, like ZVZ creep spread is not always a thing here, but that creep tumor gives you access to this choke point to be able to make a wall in. And Serral's starting to do that right now. A second Evo Chamber here to finish off that wall with the Queens to block in. Oh no, True actually gets up there. He's going to see the lair as well.
And how does True react to this? He sees the lair, he sees the extra Queens. True knows exactly what this is. He says this is a gasless expand build. You're going to rush up to those Roaches, those upgrades. He's already chasing down these Overlords on the map, and it looks like drones. So, I mean, normally you have two responses. It's full greed or full aggression. True, I mean, he's going to try and morph some Banelings. Shouldn't really find anything with that. The Queen will kill one. Single Baneling, not going to be able to do much. But it looks like True's saying, I'm going to go full economy. I'm going to try and match you in this Roach stage of the game. But True not having a third base down just yet. I'm a little bit curious what the next step is going to be for this Psystorm Gaming Zerg. He's going to be behind in the upgrades with no third base to give him an advantage. I like this position for Serral.
So he's going to try and chase the Roach count here of Serral, which is a little bit rough when one guy started producing them before you, especially when their upgrades are faster and their lair is much faster than True's here. Serral's Ling's going up here. You can see Serral doesn't even have Link speed. He's just rolling on through, just having a look.
Gonna have to play a bit more defensive is True for a while. He does have the third hatch on the way now, but not gonna have the option to use that. He's just gonna say, look, all right, you're gonna have faster upgrades, but as long as I use the defender's advantage and actually go, you know, use those Roaches on the defense, have the faster reinforce, I think he's saying he can just defend that way, hang on, and then hopefully explode on ahead later in the game. True is very even on workers right now. Both players pushing back the Overlords.
Serral is double upgrading here, which means his army, even if it's the same size as True's, is going to be a little bit more powerful. At least when these upgrades finish, of course.
And he's starting to drone a little bit more. It's not just a few drones up to 45. I think Serral's just playing like the safest, most balanced playstyle he can right now. He's just going to keep adding in these workers. He's trying to keep scouting. One of the things which Serral is so incredible at is sneaking Zerglings and Overseers through his opponent's base. He just always sees what his opponent is up to. And this game is no different with that Overseer sneaking its way along the north side of the map. No doubt looking to see if there's any cheeky Spire play, but True, he's got his mind set on just mass Roaches, and it looks like a +1 Roach timing might actually be the answer here, because he doesn't have any more drones on the way. It's only Roaches building, and this Overseer does spot some Roaches coming out. It might catch on to what this is.
That's right. I mean, True just has a huge army supply of Roaches. Upgrades be damned when you have this much more army supply. Serral...
But he's building spines, though, and he's letting them finish. I thought they were like a fake
for
a second, but now he's letting them finish. So I think True's just a little bit afraid of those superior upgrades of Serral. Little does he know that Serral's actually droned up the third hatch even before it finished. So I think True misreading this a little bit, and only now will he come in with those Zergling and be like, wait, what's going on? Why haven't you pushed out yet?
Wait, what? I've been seeing like some players as well, especially like the Korean Zergs, actually utilize Contaminator a lot more. Like, it's not something you see every day in ZVZ, but you know, delay those upgrades with the Overseer. I wonder if Serral might. I mean, it doesn't have Overlord speed. Generally, without that, it's a little tough to contaminate with the Overseer, but I think it's a really sick play, especially when you're trying to like really shoot ahead in the upgrade war.
Roach versus Roach upgrades are everything. If you can delay like that +2 just before a fight or something, it can be massive. So I'd love to see that as well. Both players have been dropping a few changelings. It's nothing too crazy from both sides just yet. Burrow on the way at much later +2 range, and man, +2 carapace is actually ahead for Serral of the +2 attack of True. So Serral, man, I mean, a 2-2 Roach timing, that's insane. That's actually so powerful. And with the army supply already being even, the economy for Serral already being ahead, Serral is up. And really, Tunneling Claws, I think, is the only thing which True has as an edge here. He's going to have to look for counterattacks. He's got to outposition Serral using the advantage of those sneak attacks.
I've seen Tunneling Claws be the MVP tech choice in many, many ZVZs. And it's going to have to be for True at the moment, because if we just look at the numbers, if we look at it on paper, he is down in pretty much every single wave.
Yeah,
but
just a little bit in every regard.
Yes, a little bit.
It's kind of hard. Definitely can find an advantage if he commits hard one way or another, but I mean, Serral's on point. He's cleaned up the Overlords on the map. Both players moving around. It looks like with +2 range finishing, Serral might want to force a fight over here. I think he might just try to shove his way into the natural.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it. Just a single spine crawler here, and he's already starting to power away at this army of True, which is pulling in. It wasn't a big concave, but now he's sort of coming into a Serral concave, and there's just a lot more roaches here for Serral, and they have that better upgrade as well.
Massive upgrade advantage here for Serral, and the start of this fight was just so good for the Finnish player. He managed to force these roaches into fighting him when half the army was still up at the third. The spine crawler died almost instantly, and Serral is happy to continue taking on this engagement. These queens just don't actually add that much firepower. The corrosive bile spread is incredible. All of these roaches in the red for True, they're starting to fall. The spine crawler is trying to reposition. I don't think it's enough here.
Yeah, I don't think so. It looked pretty close for a little bit there, but Serral is starting to break the back of True here, and he's rallying more and more roaches across the map. His +2 upgrades are about to kick in here, and he will have a much too strong army for True to stop, but it looks like True's just going to have to tap out shortly here. Serral has broken him one more time, and a very clean ZVZ series pick.
Absolutely, and nothing less than we would expect. GG. The Finnish Zerg goes through with a commanding 2-0 victory there, and I mean, he just played pretty much the safest game possible. I think True misread it there just a little bit. Thought that there was going to be a big roach timing coming off 2-base. And it was like, oh wait, you're just droning the third. Didn't get the information early enough, and Serral just snuck ahead in every single regard. Very nice play from the Finnish player. He'll be continuing on.
Well, Serral's looking so good in ZVZ, and I think that means his chances in bracket number 2 are going to be pretty damn good. Let's go for a break. When we come back, interview with Serral, our winner, and more StarCraft. Don't go away.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice 2018. We saw our first qualifying match for Bracket 2 and Serral is the first non-Korean to qualify for the group stage out of the open bracket. So first of all, congratulations Serral. You took down 2 Koreans in a row to advance. So are you feeling relieved that you avoided that lower bracket with 5 Koreans in your open bracket?
Yeah, I'm very happy I managed to avoid the lower bracket. It would have been very hard to play against Scarlet or Solar. Both of those are so good. And yeah, I was kind of expecting to get through the upper bracket. I think my upper bracket was pretty fine. I had some Koreans, but I don't think they were like the top tier Koreans, so I was fine with them. And I'm really happy with the result.
Well, we saw this series was pretty one-sided in your favor. In your last series against Trust, it was a 2-1. So was that series also pretty easy for you? Because you did drop 1 set, so how did that go?
The series against Trust was actually pretty hard. I kind of got off guard by the Celot Archon Immortal Alling a couple of times, but I think I should have lost the last game as well. The second game was pretty easy for me, and the first game I got pretty much destroyed. But luckily I remembered to put my Bailing Nest down the last 2 games and I managed to hold.
Well, Serral, you had a fantastic start to 2018 by becoming the WCS Leipzig champion. Unfortunately, Pyeongchang didn't go your way. You got top 8 there. So coming into this event, how do you feel that your form is right now?
I think my form is pretty good right now. I don't think I'm playing my best Starcraft right now exactly, but I think I can win anyone, and I'm not really scared of anyone, so I guess that's a good sign.
I love the confidence. Congratulations again. Good luck in that group stage. Colares, back to you.
Thank you very much, Snakes. Of course, as we get into some of the games here, we have a lot of Zerg versus Zergs going on, and let's check in with Laptop 2.
Yes.
As we do have Artosis covering Lenok versus Scarlet, correct?
Yeah, it's game 2, and Scarlet looks like she might be about to finish off Lenok here.
Okay.
Both games, he's been very, very aggressive. Let's look at that. Let's look at that. Not me. But
Anytime now. There we go.
There you go.
Still looking at you.
All right. But yeah, I mean, as you see, Scarlet has just kind of macroed up. Lenok has been aggressive all game, so Scarlet's actually been playing 2 very defensive ZVZs.
Okay.
But yeah, at the end of the day, Lenok is just kind of unable to hold on against her. She's just kind of showing better late game.
There you go. Win a winner. There we go. And GG. Perfect. I like that. I appreciate that. Yeah. Let's head over to Mr. Rotterdam, who has Solar versus Zanster 1-0 at the moment to Solar.
I've got a ZVZ as well. And guess what, guys? Lots of roaches on my screen, too. So let's go ahead and jump into game number 2. Solar has taken a 1-0 lead to keep you guys, or get you guys up to speed. Acid Plant was a pretty even game. Zanster just invested a lot into Lynx early on. Didn't really get the damage done. Kind of tried to crawl back into the game, but in the end, Solar just had a few more roaches, and he also had a few more Ravages. This time, however, Zanster does have his own Ravages. The previous game, Zanster was never rich enough for it, and you can really see that these Ravages, if they can survive, they push out so much damage, not just with Corrosive Bow, but also just with their basic A-move ability. And with the upgrade advantage and the reinforcements, I think Zanster is fine here. He should be, right, James? Come on, James, give me a confirmation.
I mean,
He's fine.
He looks fine to me, Rod.
Yeah, he's okay. Yeah.
I mean,
he's gonna be okay.
He's okay, guys.
No,
Look at the hatcheries, they both have 4. It's good, man.
That's right.
And he's ahead a little bit economically.
Quick
He has killed a few more drones. I mean, he killed 8 drones. That's 2 + 2 + 2 + 2 is 8 drones. Quick maths, James.
That's right. -1
is 7.
Oh, there we go.
Maths.
Whoa.
This guy's a pro.
Anyway, let's move on very quickly. Thank you very much.
Okay, the TLDR, guys, all memes aside, is that Zanster is putting up one hell of a fight. Game number 1, he maybe overcommitted a little bit early on. Still held his own, but in the end, Solar was a little too solid. Had a better army. Game 2, I'm kind of leaning towards Zanster, but it's anybody's game.
All right, well, thank you very much. Tasteless, whilst that was all going on, you did have Trust going up against Mana. That was in the lower bracket. Can you regale us with tales of what may have happened in that best of 3?
It was a great series. Trust did come out on top. It was 2-1. The very last game, it was a very well-placed Oracle. Too many probes were killed off. We saw an attempted counterattack back there.
Right.
Sort of the Adepts to try to get in and get some of their own kills, but Trust just played too well, walled himself in, and there you go. He moves on.
he does move on. What do you think about Serral, though? Moving on through into the round of 24, I think it's a name that a lot of people expect to be able to get their Artosis.
Yeah, well deserved, and he adds a lot of excitement to the tournament. Like, you want to see Serral against the very best in the world, and that's what we're going to see in the following days.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. How about you, Rotterdam?
I love it. I mean, once again, it's not that easy when we all expect a lot out of Serral every single time. I mean, basically, in Pyeongchang, we expected him to win it or at least come very far. The moment he doesn't win it, it feels like he disappointed again. It's a little bit perhaps over the top after he was just dominating in Leipzig. He had an absolutely stunning run there. And I still think Serral is one of our absolute top players in the foreign scene. And I like the way that just kind of breezed through this open bracket. Yeah, he got caught off guard by a Zealot Archon on Lin, but I mean, who doesn't, right? I mean, those hit from all different angles and they come probes at any moment. So overall, very solid, but I do agree with him. And I love the honesty saying like, yeah, I mean, I looked at my bracket and I kind of expected myself to make it through the upper bracket because I had good opponents, but those were not the scariest opponents. You know, he's not going up against Maru or even a Scarlet in ZVZ or, you know, even Linok could have be very scary, Solar as well from the upper bracket. So he just kind of did what he expected of himself, and that's always nice.
Well, let's check in with bracket number 2, of course, as we're getting towards the later stages here of the bracket itself. As you can see, Serral has qualified for the round of 24. Some would say it's nice. And then moving down into the lower bracket.
Some would say it's nice.
And moving down into the lower bracket, of course, we do have Trust being able to prevail over Mana, and Linok and Scarlet still going on.
Nope, that just finished.
No,
others would say it's
I wrote the GG out, James.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Oh, my God.
Hey, I've got a lot of things I'm juggling here, all right? Look at that. I mean, anyway.
Well, you need to update this graphic, James, and make it Scarlet go to the next one. Get on it.
I just want to say that I think it's very sad that Pig is not actually casting Zenster versus Solar, because James, it's an absolute bloodbath.
It's a blood bath.
Roaches.
Over 250 roaches have gone down in this 13-minute game. It's literally like the old classic ZVZ meme, you know, where they're like playing tug of war and the roaches. That's literally how this game is going. They're just going up and down with roach battles, and Pig would love it.
Pig would love it. What a farce. All right, well, it's time now to go to a break, and when we come back, more action here from the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice.